Thank you so much, Melanie. I thought I was coming to receive a gift as well. It was good to be, yeah. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Program Director, Chairperson, and members of the PACO Board, senior leadership from PACO member institutions, government officials. I met a few from our mother departments, the DHET, DSI, delegates and exhibitors at the conference, colleagues and fellow workers in higher education, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I want to first thank the CEO and the local organizing committee of this conference for affording me the opportunity to stand before you. And I can actually see that the mood, I can feel the mood of the conference is very positive, good energy. And I don't know whether this is in anticipation of the public holiday that will be announced on Saturday. We're getting there. The topic of my choice is on digital transformation, and that is a very broad topic. So I'll obviously just cover a few themes. In my previous life, before I moved into management of ICT, I was lecturing, and I tend to be a bit long-winded, so I need the audience to help me today. I know that we were told to keep our phones on silent, which you should, but if you could all just put your timers on for 30 minutes, so that in 30 minutes, all your timers ring, and then I know that my time is up. I'll be able to, that would really assist me. So to synchronize, if you could just put your timers, and then they ring in 30 minutes. So as I say, the topic of digital transformation is quite broad, and maybe what I will do, especially looking at the audience, I'm not going to give a CTO, Chief Technology Officer type talk, which is deep tech. I'll just try to share some reflections that enable us to navigate together. Program Director, the National Treasury has sounded alarm bells on economic constraints, and I think as the CEO said earlier, there is no doubt that higher education will be operating in a complex and constrained environment, at least in the next 3 years, the medium-term expenditure framework period. Therefore, the theme adopted for the conference, transform, evolve, adapt, and monetize, is most apt. There could not be a better time to work as a team as we collectively adapt and seize the opportunities and respond to the challenges posed by rapid technological shifts. Digital transformation, abbreviated DX, is more than technology. The EDUCAUSE Consortium defines it as a coordinated culture, workforce, and technology shift with a bearing on the operating models and with an impact on the institution's strategic direction. I always like this framework. We talk about the 3 Ds of digital transformation because we tend to use these words interchangeably sometimes: digitization, digitalization, digital transformation, and take it as a continuum or a journey. And even within the same organization, you may find different units or different departments being at various levels of maturity. But nevertheless, it is a journey that entails and requires everyone to participate. Now, digital transformation in higher education is inevitable for, amongst other reasons, existential and sustainability considerations. This is more so, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. And by the way, literature suggests that in North America, as an example, had the pandemic not abated in terms of its intensity, if the lockdown had persisted an additional 1 year, we would have had close to 30% of institutions actually ceasing to exist. when Prof. Tlapo gave his initial talk, the objectives of digital transformation were in a sense covered. Organizational change, operational performance, productivity improvements, cost reductions, and innovation. Within higher education, researchers in the field have summed up the objectives as that of improved student outcomes, more effective teaching and learning methods, new research capabilities, and of course, the evolution of business models. Ladies and gentlemen, a clear strategy for deploying and exploiting digital technologies is crucial for business success. Some cynics have argued that there's nothing new under the sun, and all this is part of the fads, and everyone is jumping into the bandwagon of 4IR, globalization, artificial intelligence, the metaverse, and so on. It might be useful to learn from history and see what happened to those nations and organizations that prepared and responded to the opportunities that were presented and the challenges that were occasioned by the first, or in the first, the second, and the third industrial revolutions. Just to have a recap of those epochs, and it's always important to say, when we talk about the 4IR, what was the first? What was the second? What was the third? Melanie, that would have been a very good question for a prize, isn't it? So the first industrial revolution, without going into details, scientific revolution. Probably a key feature was the printing press, and that accompanied the Protestant Reformation. The second industrial revolution is associated more with electromagnetism and electricity, the discovery thereof. The third industrial revolution is more around the invention of the semiconductor devices and transistors, and what then makes the 4IR become more prominent and important is because of its fusion of technologies, the interaction across the physical, digital, and biological domains, and more importantly, because of its exponential rather than linear pace of reach, as well as the impact to countries, to societies, and to individuals. We should be careful not to be like the Luddites of old, but maybe before I just speak about Luddites that were destructive, I also want to talk about critical junctures. And this is basically what organizations do. And there's work that two MIT professors have put their effort into. In their book, Why Nations Fail, they conclude that the success or failure of nations is determined by what they do at critical junctures. In other words, when there is crossroads to either appropriate or not appropriate, or to adapt or not to adapt to technologies. Those societies that allowed and incentivized their citizens to invest in new technologies grew rapidly, whilst others lagged behind. And then, of course, we know the term that was coined by Schumpeter, creative destruction. And that is the idea of the old having to die in order to give way for the new. And the theme of the conference, the adapting, the evolving, I think resonates with that. The Luddites I spoke about earlier are a group that was opposed to the machinery, the mechanization that was affecting their jobs, and they started physically destroying the machines, essentially resisting the change that was before them. And we should just resist, we should be careful not to move into that realm or that train of thought. The colleagues that spoke about cybersecurity earlier spoke about our bombardment with emails. There's emails that I sometimes ignore because you're not so sure whether it is a phishing attack or not. And there's one provider, they're not part of our distributors today, so, and I'm not going to name them, who kept on sending emails about an innovative product that they felt my organization could benefit from. And after maybe 3, 4, 5 emails that were not responded to, they then sent me this on email to say, won't you consider this? Essentially, they were implying that they've got a solution to a problem I have, but I'm too busy to respond to it. So I actually found it quite an interesting way of depicting how sometimes we miss opportunities on account of being too busy. Technology and technology-driven change has virtually nothing to do with igniting a transformation. Technology can only accelerate a transformation, and authors have actually indicated that the organizational culture, the agility, there once again we talk about the A part of our team, and people are what constitute or gives long-term advantage. Now, this morning, this afternoon rather, I'd like to share and take a cursory view on some of the selected trends that, in my view, would have an impact or a bearing on how we move with the DX, in the DX or digital transformation journey. The first one is in the area of connectivity. Connectedness or access is key in participation in the new digital economy. Digital exclusion requires our attention. Our National Development Plan, as you know, cites the importance of using connectedness to improve participation and obviously to address some of the socioeconomic challenges that befall us. Some interesting stats which I'll just share this morning. This is the mobile penetration in sub-Saharan Africa. You may be surprised to know that in 1997, there was only 2 million mobile subscribers in the entire continent. This number jumped to 30 million in 2001, and by 2008, we had about 250 million subscribers. The number currently from the GSM data shows that there's close to 487 million, and it is anticipated that this number will rise to close to 700 million or 690-something million by the year 2030. So mobile connectivity in sub-Saharan Africa continues to drive digital transformation and socio-economic advances. The latest 2022 South African census also shares some insights on the penetration of mobile and access thereof. We must remember that in 2001, there was only 32% of South Africans with access to a mobile phone, and right now the new census is indicating that there's 92.1%. So a sharp increase and still growing. The report also paints a picture of efforts required to connect to the internet. You can see from the statistics there that 21% of households in this country do not have access to the internet. We're talking about 4IR, and yet these are some of the benefits and promises that were associated with the third industrial revolution. This is actually a far cry from what was anticipated in the National Development Plan that had predicted that 100% broadband penetration by the year 2020. Now we're in 2023. Another interesting observation from the census is the increase in the number of households connected with electricity. Now that is obviously as a bearing on connectivity to 94.7%. And of course, some may say that that statistic needs to be revised in light of the ongoing load shedding, which I must say has abated for a while. The same report, if you talk about sub-Saharan Africa, talks about the number of unconnected people. And you could see countries where up to 90% of the population is still not connected. So more work needs to be done. Ladies and gentlemen, I would move into the next marker, which is the democratic dividend, as economists call it, our youthful population. In the book entitled Why Africa is Poor and What Can Be Done About It, the authors advise that we should take advantage of our young population. By 2025, 23% of the world's youth will be living in sub-Saharan Africa. And what is worrying from the census report, the 2022 census, is 5.2 young people, that is people aged between 5 and 24. And by the way, those who missed the session from PAQ, this point was made more lucidly, are not participating in education and therefore risk actually being excluded, an area that requires attention. In the area of connectivity, we must laud our Department of Science and Technology, our and the Department of, through the initiatives such as the CHPC, the Center for High Performance Computing, the SKA project and so on, that have given higher education institutions as well as research institutes connectivity that is, that meets world standards. The next phenomenon which I want to gloss over is a rise in social media use. The Global State of Digital Report 2023, is that someone ringing the bell? That was so quick. The social media penetration, right now we're talking about 4.7 billion people in the world on social media. Now social media is almost a misnomer because those are platforms that are currently being used mainly for advertising, for recruitment, even for learning. Now in South Africa, there's 25 million participants in social media platforms, and the most popular. And we spend an average of 10 hours a day online, so says the result. And these results can actually be trusted because they come from reliable sources. Then there's obviously the accelerated cloud adoption. The cloud has given us significant opportunities to reimagine ICT infrastructure and respond to growing data and storage requirements. Also, cloud platforms call on us to reimagine procurement. Software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and so on. Opportunities presented through cloud services have immense potential to catapult institutions' digital transformation ambitions. And the challenge is for us to give practical effect to our chosen theme of team, quite a tongue twister, to ensure that through PACO and our collective bargaining, we can be able to get the hyperscalers, and those are the companies that provide access to their infrastructure services via the cloud, to give us value offerings. The other component I wanted to dwell on, I think justice was done to the area of cybersecurity, so I'll skip that. This is, by the way, the graveyard session, so I'm cognizant of overloading us. But what phenomenon is also emerging is that within ICT circles, there's talk of cybersecurity as the silent pandemic. There's now even a new industry, cybercrime as a service, that is emerging, where criminals create software to hack sites and illegally gain access for information. I think because the colleagues exhausted this quite well in the morning, I will probably not dwell much on it. All these things call for us to start investing in digital skills across the spectrum. You know that in our higher education field, one of our thought leaders has been the former UJ VC, Professor Marwala, and he actually poses the question in light of some of these trends which I've made reference to. Do our institutions of higher education have adequate skills to understand all these emerging technologies, he asks. In fact, he goes on in the book, I think Closing the Gap is the title, indicating that whereas South Africa has a good innovation culture, a sophisticated financial sector that supports entrepreneurial activity, human capital remains the most pressing challenge, characterized by a shortage of engineers and digital skills. So digital skills is a key gap area requiring attention. Ladies and gentlemen, in the area of technology-enhanced learning, where, because learning and teaching are our core business, I would want to say that essentially people participate in higher education for three key things: their credentials, the education, and the experience. The world of edutech, educational technology, has been growing, but with different results. One would say that yes, the COVID period was a time when there was a surge in the use of technologies for learning and teaching, but the mixed results that I'm referring to are such that in the early stages of e-learning, 75% of participants expressed unhappiness with the platform and preferring, obviously, traditional mechanisms of the traditional methods of delivery. What is important with the 4IR is to look at the framework that has been made available by the World Economic Forum in their Insights report. It's called Education 4.0, depicting, of course, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, wherein it states that, that efforts to integrate technology strategically alongside effective, innovative pedagogies would benefit the learning experience. The discourse on technology-mediated learning, ladies and gentlemen, presents opportunities and should seize opportunities of ubiquitous access, collaboration and communication, extended reality, that is where the metaverse or the internet with immersive experience comes in, and then, of course, the AI as well as the blockchain. The blockchain opportunities, by the way, CEO, present an opportunity for the per Q proposition to be more versatile. I know that these technologies are still at tentative stage, but it will be important that we put our R&D collectively into seeing how those could assist us. Finally, I would like to just have reflections on the new world of work. And the new world of work, and I'm not talking about the future world of work, will be characterized by digitization of everything. Hybrid workplaces, new kinds of employment agreements, and so on. Work from home will morph into work from everywhere in the planet. The new mission of HR departments shifts to establishing flexible organizations and forms of work. Flexibility around working from home may be by far the most appreciated perk that any organization can offer, says Galloway. An interesting study, of course not in higher education, but focusing on the travel industry, showed that those who work from home tend to be 13% more productive and 9% more engaged than those of us who are office-bound. But on the contrary, technology workers who are surveyed, 68% of those who work from home reported burnout and wellness issues as opposed to those who report in the workplace. So a work-life balance, as well as how we appropriate the new shift in work experiences is something for us to consider. Those working from home claim we crave contact, but not surveillance. I'm sure we can all relate to that, isn't it? We crave contact, but not surveillance. There's a time when all cameras were not working in Teams meetings. Ladies and gentlemen, just before the alarm sounds, in fact, I wanted to speak about artificial intelligence, but maybe let me just skip that. Just borrow a leaf from what Prof. Nhlapo said earlier, that machines are great, but nothing beats the human touch. No, what was the Latin term that was used in the presentation? Who can remember? No deus ex machina, isn't it? Yes. So despite the digitization of predictive processes and the concomitant automation of many jobs, it has become clear that specifically human capabilities such as critical thinking, creativity, and empathy cannot be outsourced to machines. That is where the collaborative, the working together comes in handy and cannot be replicated. I want to conclude by leaving us with 4 attributes taken from a book that I duly recommend, Great by Choice by Jim Collins. And he talks about 4 attributes that could be adapted in our digital transformation journeys, though the book is not about digital transformation. The first one relates to fanatical discipline, and that is the idea that once you've set the strategy, even if it is incremental, but moving step by step, ensuring that there's, just like we do with exercise, there's consistency. It's not so much the intensity, but there's consistency toward a particular objective sought. The next attribute or characteristic of organizations, by the way, this comes from a longitudinal study of 15 years of organizations that thrived versus organizations, their peers that did not do so well. Yes, the sample was taken mainly from the corporates, but we can extrapolate and learn lessons from the same. So fanatical discipline. Empirical creativity. Now, Prof. Nhlapo emphasized the area of data and analytics, and that is one of the features of digital transformation. Our biggest resource, what we offer as IT people, actually, what we look after is the information resource. Empirical creativity implies being able to use the massive data that we have analytically to make decisions, to inform decisions, and to change course as evident from what the data dictates. The third attribute is what he calls productive paranoia. And that is a term, auditors have a term they call professional skepticism. So the fact that I know you and I know you're a good person does not make me not audit you. I just think that humanly you could be wrong. So despite our intentions with digital transformation, we should always have this attribute of questioning ourselves from time to time on whether we are on the right path or whether we should actually change course. The nature of technologies is so fluid, and you shouldn't stick to a particular course just because you're saying we have a sunk cost here. A time comes when you have to review the journey. And then, of course, the fifth attribute, or the fourth attribute rather, is what he calls the level 5 ambition. Ladies and gentlemen, this talk that I've given is laden with a lot of references, just in case someone thinks it was ChatGPT generated. I will make this available to the presenters, including, of course, the presentation. And there's many aspects, because as I said, digital transformation is so broad. This was intended to be a primer. I know that my colleagues in the sector my counterparts in other institutions who are here would have even spent more time on this particular topic. Next time we've agreed that it lends itself to a panel discussion so that all elements can be given due time. But for now, I think let me leave you with those words, and I wish you a good conference going forward. Thank you for listening to me during what is otherwise known as the graveyard session of the conference. Thank you very much.